Welcome to Programming in Java tutorials. So in this session we will be discussing about method overloading and constructor overloading. So method overloading is actually comes in Java object oriented programming concepts. In Java object oriented programming concepts we can create a class and we can also create objects also, right? So in class we can have a data and we can have functions. Functions are called as methods, right? So when you create a methods, usually we cannot create multiple method with the same name. So when you create a multiple method with the same name, you will be getting a error. Compiler raises the error message, right? So but still we can create a multiple methods with the same name. That is called method overloading. So what is method overloading is, if a class has multiple methods having same name, but we should differentiate. We cannot create a exact method as it is. We should make a difference. How we can make a difference is different in parameters. When you are using a methods, we can use parameter, right? So in terms of parameter, we have to make a difference. It is known as method overloading. So what's the advantage of method overloading is, why we are creating method overloading? So it provides a flexibility to the developers or a programmer so that they can call the same method for different types of data. So since we are changing the parameters, the same method can be applicable for different types of data. We can utilize the same method. Otherwise we have to write different method for different type of data. So it's a more convenient and one flexibility way of for the programmer to create a same function with the different parameters. So how you can overload the method in Java is, there are two ways. One is by changing the number of arguments, that's a number of parameters, and by changing the data type also. Let's understand this method overloading with a program. For example, here you can understand what is actually method overloading. Here I have a class called calculator with sum function. So this sum function, if you want to add two numbers, we can create a sum function with the two parameters. Here I am using two parameters, right? So we can create a sum function for adding two numbers. Similarly, if you want to add three numbers, we can create same function sum and we can change the number of parameters. We can add three parameters and we can perform addition of three parameters. Similarly, we can, if you want to add different type of data like double and double, if you want to add, we can create a same function and with a different parameter type we can create another function. So we are creating a same function multiple times, okay, multiple method we are creating with the same function name but different arguments. This is called method overloading, right? So how it is called is, when you call the function based on the data that you are passing, the call will be takes place. Now let's understand by creating one program in Eclipse IDE. So in Eclipse IDE I'll create one sample program called calculator. For example, calc is short form I am going to write. So in this calc class, so for example calc application, so we'll add main function here, right? So here I'll create a calc class. So inside calc class, for example, you want to add two numbers, we'll create a sum function with the two numbers. So this will perform addition of two numbers and it returns the result x plus y. Or we can instead of return value we can keep it void also, that is not a problem. X plus y we can give. So now this function, how we can access, we can create this class object ob equal to new calc and we can call this function sum and we can pass some values 4, 5. So now this program executes fine for these two data. we are getting the number sum is equal to 9, right? So we can also give some text also here. Right. So when you attach text, so you should give like this bracket. So now only it performs addition, otherwise it performs concatenation. So it's fine, right? So when we execute again, see, we are getting sum is equal to 9, right? So this is working for two numbers. If I want to add three numbers, it is not possible, right? So what we can do is we can create a function, extra function, one more function we can include, which will take three data in z also, so that I can add one more data, right? So here I am changing only the parameter. I am not changing the function name. Function name is same, exactly same. I have changed the parameter. So this is what overloading the function with a different parameter. So now I can call this function by using ob dot sum. So three values we can pass, right? So now when I execute this program, sum is equal to 9, sum is equal to 13 I am getting. The same way, if you want to change the type of the data, we can create sum. For example, I want to add one is integer and another data I want to add double data, floating point data I want to add. So if you want to do that, we can create a function with a different type of argument. So in this, here we have discussed the overloading can be done by changing the type also, right? So we can change the type int a and we can add these two number a plus b. So now it's coming. So we have to call this function ob dot. For example, I want to add first number is I want to perform addition of two number. First number is 10. Another number is 3.14 I want to add. 3.14 is a double data type. So when we are calling sum with 10 and 3.14, first it will look for number of argument. So based on the number of argument, we have a exact match. First function is matching. Based on the number of argument, first function is matching. Then second, it will match the type of argument. First one is integer, yes, it is matching. Second one is floating point number, so it is not matching. So it will go for second function, second match, which takes two parameter, for example a and b. For example, here 10 is integer, so there is exact match. 3.14 is a double floating point value. So here when it comes to the third function only, that the exact match is coming, right? So this function, instead of this function will be called. Okay, so we'll be getting the output as, right? So here you can see the output sum 13.4. Okay, sum 13.4. So this is what method overloading. So method overloading is like changing the creating multiple function with the same with the different parameters. The different parameter can be in terms of number of argument, in terms of in terms of data type also possible. So this is what method overloading. Similarly, we can understand another concept called constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. So constructor overloading is also a similar concept. So similar to Java method overloading, we can also create two or more constructors with different parameters. For example, here different parameters, two or more constructor with different parameters. So this is called another type of overloading. It is called as constructor overloading. So for example, here I have a class called box class with the data length, breadth, height. So I can create a constructor box within bracket and we can initialize all the values. And I can also create a parameters constructor which will take a parameter like this, and we can initialize from this parameter we can initialize the length, breadth, height, and for example length, breadth, height. And similarly we can also create another constructor by using 3 argument, different value for length, breadth and height. Here we are taking same value and we are initializing length, breadth, height, same value. And we can also create another function with 3 parameters. So when you look at this, it look like a function. Constructor is basically, it is a method only. Okay, so when you see that method, here same method but different parameters. Here there is no parameter, here one parameter, here it is 3 parameters. So this is called constructor overloading, right? So how it is called? When I create object with no argument, it will look for the exact match. So the exact match is here. So, right? So this particular constructors will be get executed, right? So based on the number of argument, it will look for the exact match. Similarly, the second constructor, when you create a second object, here B2 object, when you create, how many number of argument? One argument we are passing, right? So the second constructor function box constructor function will be called, since we are passing one argument, right? So for example, since when I pass 110, okay, so it will call this box of size, okay. So the second object, when you are creating second object, second constructor will be called. And when it comes to this third object B3, I am creating box object with the 3 argument 5, 10, 4, right? So where is the exact match? This constructor is exact match, right? So this will call the third constructor, okay. So based on the argument, number of argument is the first matching. If the number of argument is matching, it will check the type of the argument. So based on these 2 constraints, it will match the respected function and it will call that particular it will execute that function. So this is called constructor overloading, right? So this is about in this video we discuss about constructor overloading, how to create a multiple constructors with different parameter and different arguments, and method overloading, similar way, how to create a same multiple method with the same name and different number of argument and different type of arguments. So this is about method overloading.